Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday afternoon, February the 7th, 2021. I hope everyone is safe and doing well. We made it through another week. Each day we make it is a miracle in my book. I'd like to welcome everyone to the show today. This will be my weekly update that I will put on YouTube. We're going to look at methane from NOAA and from CAMS. We're going to look at the sea ice. I also want to look at the glacier that burst in India today, and I'll show you where that is on the map and where it's flooded, and we're going to talk about that and just go over the overall climate of Mother Earth. So get started here. We peaked out this week. This is from February the 3rd. This is the Met-1 satellite in the afternoon for the 477/469 millibar reading. We can see that the high reading spiked up to 3,071 parts per billion. Now this range here is anywhere between 1405 to 3071, and the color scheme is down here, and this bright pink color is anywhere between 2,000 and whatever the high number is here, so between 2,000 and 3071. So I don't know exactly where this happened. It could have happened anywhere. I imagine it happened somewhere in the Arctic, and so that's definitely a high reading. And then for a few days after that, this reading has been higher than normal, but not that high. But I just wanted to start with that. So we'll get rid of that one. So, but you notice that the mean on that was 1890, even though it had spiked up. So here we are for yesterday the 6th. We have the Met-1 satellite in the morning. Same pressure, 477/469 millibar reading. The mean or average was 1891 parts per billion. The high reading was 2352. We've got some missing data here in the afternoon. I don't think it's enough to throw out the reading, but it probably affected this, made it go down because they didn't factor it in. Anyway, the mean here is 1889 and the high reading was 2534. On the Met-2 satellite in the morning, the mean was 1869. The high reading was 2304. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1869 and the high reading was 2425. Here's the spreadsheet and chart where we've been tracking all of this since March of 2019. Started way down here under 1860 parts per billion. So here's the data for the 6th. Here are the means added up and divided by 4, and we come up with an average of 1879.5 parts per billion. That's showing an increase over the week before of 5.5 parts per billion. So here's the line where it's going back up now. So I think we hit our low for the cooling season on January the 12th of 1873.5, and then it hopped up, and then it went back down to 1874. That was our reading last weekend. And now I think we're on our way up. I just don't see it going back down. Now, a year ago, on February the 8th, which was about a year ago, we were 16.25 parts per billion lower. So we're showing an increase overall that much from last year. That's correct. Now let's go on. So it's just zipping along. It's not slowing down. So here's where I'm tracking this on a daily basis. Now, so here we are for this week. The colored lines are from week to week. So here it is for the 6th. So here's what we did this week. Here was my report last week of 1874, and there was a lot of missing data on the Met-Op 2 satellite in the morning and in the afternoon, but it was still not at our lowest. Our lowest was 1873 point whatever it was, 518 right there on the 12th. So we counted that. Then on the 31st, there was incomplete data. It was just, the numbers were just wrong. It was all, there was so much white on it. And then on the 1st, there was incomplete data. So I didn't count those. And then for the 2nd, it had hopped up to 1879, so an increase of 5 parts per billion in 3 days, from the 30th to the 2nd. And then on the 3rd it went up another 1 part per billion. Then on the 4th it went down 0.5. On the 5th it went down 0.25. And then on the 6th it went up slightly, 1.25. So we, at one point, by the 3rd, we were seeing an increase this week of 6 parts per billion, but then it went down a little bit. So overall this week we've seen an increase of 5.5. So I think it's on the rise, and we're in for a hot summer. We're in for massive methane releases, not only in the Arctic Ocean, but also from all the melting permafrost in from all the northern hemisphere. And so there are going to be lots of fires, and there's going to be lots of floods, lots of chaotic weather, and it's going to be like last year except worse. And we're going to see more and more volcanoes, magmas rising, and we're going to see more and more earthquakes as well. So that's what we're in for, and the temperature is going up. What can I say? So now we'll look at the CAMS data. They finally got up to date. They even have today's data up, but we're going to look at Saturday the 6th so that we can compare it to the NOAA data. Arctic view and surface level is what I have ready to go. There's our color ledger at the bottom. So the data is for Saturday, and then the forecast period runs Sunday through Wednesday coming up. So we have an overall increase in the background colors. We're also we're seeing very tiny bit of blue in the Arctic. It's mainly green, which is a higher methane reading. And we see these lighter colors of green swirling across the Arctic, coming up through the sea ice. Here at CAMS NOAA Island, it's been spewing up high levels of methane for over a year now, and spreading out. It's now populating up here in the North Kara Sea. I didn't get the extra show I wanted to get in about the radioactive stuff in the sea up here. I had a kind of a rough week, but I'm here. I'm okay. Survived. It's just harder to if I overdo one day, it takes longer to recuperate. So it's part of whatever's happening, along with getting older, and I'll be 67 this year, and I feel everything kind of like coming apart, like Mother Earth, and I'm still empathic, still more empathic than ever. We can see the higher background colors moving out across Russia. See, it's light green instead of the darker green. Also North America, and you can see it just moving out in waves. We still have it popping up high on this north coast of Alaska. Now we'll look at the North Pole view. Here we can see the whole northern hemisphere. Here's India. Still filling up. Still streaming out in the Bengal Bay. See the waves move out here from China. Look at this coming out from China. Here it comes. See. Here's the Persian Gulf. It's filled up. Europe, you're coming back to life. See the higher background color, the yellow. France, you're getting high readings again. UK, Germany, all of these areas. Here's North America. You can see these waves just moving out. In California, you're covered up. Now we'll look at the global view. We're starting to see this dark blue come in now in the southern hemisphere, which is a higher reading. This is 1880 parts per billion. The purplish color was 1780. So we're starting to see that creep up. And you can see it streaming off of South America now. Look, and off the tippy point. It's very high readings down here, the southern tip of South America. See, here's the blue coming down further south. China getting that white spot. Look how big it is there in the forecast period. Watch where my pointer is. There it is. Here it comes. See? So by Tuesday, Wednesday, look, there it is. That's by Beijing. That's higher than the 10,000 parts per billion that it measures. This is the 500 HPA reading. We've got a dense cloud streaming out across the Pacific. This had been over China, but it's moving out. Look how red it is over Russia here, and lots of red over the northern area, and it's red further south to here in India. Now we'll look at total column. This is where methane is added up through the layers for a total number. So we can see it's highest here in China, and next is India, and then over the Indian Ocean. South America, it's got some red popping up and some orange there. This red-orange is the next color down from the red. So I imagine we're going to be seeing a lot more reds as we head into this summer season, spring and summer. Reds popping up on total column. Now, let's move on. That's all of those. This is sea ice and snow cover for last Sunday, the 31st. Here it is for today, the 7th. This is from Climate Reanalyzer. I download these pictures every day. So we're not seeing a lot of extent change. It's mainly just thickening up. It is coming back somewhat here in the Barents Sea on the east side of Svalbard. It's still open on the west side, and it's trying to come back further south in this Baffin Bay by Greenland. But the sun is up about in the middle part of Greenland. The sun is coming up around the coastline. Southern part of Novaya Zemlya is now in very light sunlight. You'll see, we'll look at that. So let's go through this our slideshow for this week. Here we go. So here it was last Sunday. Okay, here we go. Here we are on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. So, like I said, you're mainly seeing thickening. We're seeing a little more extent coming back around the coastlines here at Russia and in the Okhotsk Sea, and here in the Pacific by Alaska, and it's just fluctuating up here in the Barents Sea, also along this coastline, Russia coastline, and the Barents and Kara Sea there. So there's that one. Now we'll go through the U.S. Navy website. This is sea ice thickness for the Arctic. This is for today. This is the color ledger on the right. So it goes from 0 being white at the bottom, up through purple, blue, up through backwards through the colors of the rainbow. And from thinnest to thickest. So let's zoom in here, see where we are today. So I've named these quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4. So here's Greenland, here's Canada, here's Alaska, and all of this is Russia. And then here's Norway over here. Here's Svalbard. We can see that's still open on the west side, and we can see it coming back just slightly here. This is the Barents Sea where the Atlantic comes up, and we can see a fringe coming in around the west side of Novaya Zemlya. We can see a little tiny fringe of ice. It's thin and it's not very well put together. There's a lot of open water when you see that light purple, the light lavender. It's pieces of ice basically. It can be slushy. I mean, they can just run their boats right through that. That's not a problem. And then we're getting aqua coming back around the coastlines, which the bright aqua is about 2 meters thick. See, we're getting a few little reds coming in. That's thicker, and it's mainly been thickening up this week, going from the purple into the blue and aqua, moving into the dark aqua. Not much bright aqua, but the dark aqua, which is about 1.5 to 1.75 meters thick. So you can see where it's pulled away from the Alaska coast here. Now this is what was left of the thickest sea ice, this piece right here. And we've been watching it move from the Greenland and the Canadian archipelago region, sliding down to the left or west, whatever direction you want to call it, to Alaska, and it's piling into the coastline of Alaska, and then with the sea ice drift it's moving it out that way. And we've been watching that. It's thickening up in the archipelago and these tributaries. We can see it thickening up into aqua. There's a thin area here in the Baffin Bay by Greenland. We've been watching that. Here's where it's coming back south here, and here's the Hudson Bay. It's filled up and it's getting some aqua around some of the coastlines too. Now there's some whitish area here around Franz Josef Land, and also next to the Yamal Peninsula. It fluctuates, around these coastlines. It just fluctuates. Just gets a little thicker and then it kind of pulls away from the ice drift. Here's the 30-day animation. The data goes back 3 weeks and the forecast period goes out a week from now to the 14th. So we'll zoom in and look at this. You see this area by Greenland? It opens up. It's like something like really warm water flowing and opening up that sea ice, and then it's coming back. That's the strangest thing to watch. I don't know what's causing that. So you can see the colors changing as the model runs from purple down to blue and then the dark aqua. So it's thickening up across the Arctic here. Now watch this ice moving down, and it's kind of squishing and then spreading out. Some of it is freezing. You know, it's getting thicker, but I think it's mainly kind of squishing out and moving out from the drift. Here's the Beaufort Sea view with sea ice thickness. This is Canada. Here's Alaska coastline. This is the Bering Strait over here. Here's the Chukchi Sea here. So today we can see that here's where it's been moving down, and we can see the red where it's piling up and getting thicker along this Alaska coastline. The green denotes thicker, just a tiny bit. It's just barely getting thicker here. I mean, it just takes a long time, especially because this is dynamic. It's always in motion, and just depending on what the weather's doing and the ocean and all of that, you just don't know what it has to go through. Here's the 30-day animation. It's just a lot of movement. And we can see pieces moving out. See, moves out. See, it slides off of this Alaska coast, and then it gets caught up in the ice drift and moves out into the Bering Strait, and it slides on across to the Russia side. That's if it doesn't dissipate. See, it's thickening here. We can see that. But this is the main piece that was this, all of this was what was left of the thickest, where you see it's so bright. Now this is the ice drift for today. It's pretty calm goes is down here from 0 up to 30 centimeters per second, and we can see the direction that it's drifting with these arrows. Here's the 30-day animation. So this gives us an idea of where the ice is moving, and we can see the flow here. So here it is a week from now. So let's see what it's going to do this week. So here it is today, pretty calm. Now tomorrow, see, it's picking up speed here along the Alaska coastline. Gonna push it on out. Now see, it gets really fast here, and it's pushing it out to the west. Whatever gets caught up in this will be just going on out. See, it gets faster in there. That's the 10th. Here's here's the 11th, 12th. Now it's slowing down. 13th. Now it's kind of spreading out. And here it is next Sunday. It's pretty calm, except for this area right here by Barrow on down. It's moving pretty fast. Now Larry suggested that I look at the compression, the strength, compressive strength is what it's called. This is also from the Navy website. This is in force applied to the area, meters, and I'm not sure what all this means, except I know that down here it's not very strong when it's 0, so polar bear can't sit on that, on the purple ice. And then it gets stronger and stronger and stronger up to the dark. We don't have any super strong here in this view, but we can see it's not that strong. Well, it's very weak here because it's not very well put together. It's not very concentrated here by Alaska. And see the cracks. That's the big cracks in the ice. Now if we run the 30-day animation, we can see it's getting stronger as the model runs, because it's getting thicker. And we're seeing by the end of the forecast period, it's compressing down. It's going to be getting thicker right along these islands and pretty strong there. But it fluctuates. See, it gets strong depending on how thick it is, and then as the ice moves out and changes, then it gets not as strong. So if anyone can explain this chart in the comments, that would be great. I'm not a physicist or an expert in any of this. I just show the readings, and we can tell by the colors. So there's that. Now we'll look at the Antarctic. This is the sea ice thickness for today. They're in high melt right now, and we can see it's quite thin around most of the coastline. A lot of it, it's melted all the way up to the coastline, and there's on a lot of it there's an ice shelf, like right here in the Ross Sea. This is an ice shelf here. We still have ice at Pine Island Glacier, which I was curious about, but it's been cloudy almost the whole summer down there. Now typically most of the ice does melt in their summertime and then it refreezes. So here we go. This is the 30-day animation. We can see how much it's been melting and thinning out. I'll zoom in. We can see it opening up here in the Weddell Sea. That's pretty dramatic as you watch that. So there's that. So I think that's all of those pictures. Yeah, done with those. Now we'll move on to Sea Ice Index. This is from the National Snow and Ice Data Center. This is for yesterday. This is the blue marble view. Here's daily, and this is the Arctic. This is, you can choose extent or concentration. I've got the concentration pulled up. The more blue it is, the less concentrated it is. We want to see white. We want to see it solid white. We don't see that though. The white means it's more concentrated. But any ice is better than no ice at this point. This brown line is the median line, and it's way under that. Here's the chart for the sea ice extent. The blue line is this season. The dotted line is from 2012. Now we've been below the 2012 reading for all of November. Went below 2012 in October. It's been below 2012 November, December, all of January, and here it is. It's just barely popped up above 2012 on the refreeze. So it's still almost neck and neck with 2012. But you have to remember that in 2012, even though it was a low extent, it was a lot thicker. The volume was much more than what we have this time. Here's the Antarctic. Again, blue marble view and concentration. We can see here's the brown line for the median, and see all that empty there and empty, so it's below the median. Here's the sea ice extent, and the blue line is this year. The dark gray, this dark kind of greenish gray line is last year, and we have come below that line, and last year it was the lowest on record, so we're below that now for the extent. So that's how fast it's melted. We were above above the median, above the average, and above the median, and way above last year at the beginning of their summer. But look how fast it's melted. Now we're below for this time of year. Now we'll take a peek at NASA Worldview. This is sea ice concentration for today. This is the Arctic. I'll refresh to make sure we'll get all the data. Okay, good. Now this black circle is where it's still dark, and you can see where the sun is coming up, and it's much more concentrated than we've seen in a while. Although there's this area just east of Greenland that's kind of struggling. See the red there, and here's the hole to the west of Greenland that we saw where it was whitish on the Navy website. Here's Svalbard, and here's where it's come back on the east side and it's open on the west side. Here's where the growth is coming back in the Barents Sea, and it's come back along the coastline, the west coast of Novaya Zemlya. And here's Franz Josef Land. See, it's kind of melting around there. Here's Komsolomet. See, we've got a hole that's opened up here. This is where that methane is spewing up for the last year. And see, we've got some thinning going on over here next to Russia. Now this is in the sunlight. This is in the Barents Sea. Here's the coastline. See, it's coming back a little bit there, and in this bay area, and down here by Norway. See this Gulf of Ob, that's all in the sunlight now. Here's the East Siberia Arctic Sea along here. See, the coast is just about to come back in the sunlight. Now we're starting to get some reddening here. This has already started to melt somewhat here, and this is Wrangel Island. See, and it's melting there a little bit. Here's the Bering Strait. We want to see solid white, but we don't have that much. And here's the Pacific, and it's still coming back along Alaska and Russia over here. Here's Kamchatka, and here's the Okhotsk Sea. Now I'm going to turn off, before I turn off the ice layer, we'll see what it's done this week. What do I want to do? Hang on. Okay. Actually, I wanted to go back out. Let's go back to the first. So, just an overview of what's happened this week. So, there we have it. If we zoom in and we just look at one area at a time, you can see the movement. Let's go back now, like this. Here's the first. You'll see a difference. So we're seeing the extent here in the Barents Sea. But it's melting here by CAMS NOAA. We saw that. See? It was tight in here around Severny Zemlya. Now watch. Here it comes. See the red coming in? Here it is today. And now it's into green and yellow and aqua. Now, if we turn off that layer, we can see what the sea ice looks like. This is our first look at the sea ice. Here it is in the Baffin Bay. This is a good view. See, this is thin. See the pieces and a lot of open water in between. It's where it's refreezing. Here it is on the east side of Greenland. See the edge there. Here's northern Norway. These are clouds that we're looking at. Here's the southern end of Novaya Zemlya. See the ice, pieces of ice there. See the ice coming together. Now we're looking through clouds here, but you can see the ice and pieces of ice there where it's refreezing a little bit. Here's the Yamal Peninsula. It's in a cloud. This is the Gulf of Ob. See, that's all cloud covered there. Let's see, let's come on around. Okay, here's Russia coastline. Now, see, here's the sea ice. See, we've got open water. Or whatever's there is just quite thin. It's hard to tell how much is that. It's clouds. Let's see. We'll turn on this sea ice surface temperature. Where's that layer? Ice surface temperature. Okay. The colors show us where there are not clouds. And where the ice temperature is. So this is just really, really thin, it looks like. Just a skim in between. Okay, here's Alaska. Here it is around the coastline. This is where it's that light lavender on the Navy website. And you can see where it's ice-free or just real thin around the coastline there. Now here's the sea ice. You can see it. See the pieces? And then the thin ice connecting it and cracks. Now there's a cloud. There's the ice. Here's the Bering Strait. And we're looking through some cloud layer, but you can see the ice here. See? Here's the coastline. Pretty thin, but it's, like I said, some ice is better than no ice. You can see it up here by Kamchatka. There's clouds. Clouds. Anyway, it's up here in the Okhotsk Sea. Alright. Now we'll take a peek at the Antarctic. Here we are. This is the Western Peninsula. Here's Ross Ice Shelf. Here's the Ross Sea. This is the southern side. This is the east side. Here's the Amory Ice Sheet. Here's the north side, and the Weddell Sea is right in here in the Weddell Ice Sheet. Now up here near the South Georgia Island, we've been tracking that A68 iceberg that had broken off and it moved up here. And it started breaking up about a week ago. Here's a piece of it. I mean, it really started to do a big breakup. I was going to show that in my show last week. I so messed up my show last week. I recorded the whole show. I'd forgotten to turn on the microphone. The setting for the microphone to record. I was so upset. It was an hour and 20 minutes, and I was so tired after that. I was so upset. Anyway, let's go. I want to show you this breakup. Let's go back. It started here. Okay, here we are. Here, this is the South Georgia Islands, right there, island, and here is what was left of the biggest piece of A68. The front part, which I'd called the finger, had broken off. The back end had broken off, and it had been kind of disintegrating around the edges, but this big piece had been holding together pretty well and had been floating around down here. But then on the 28th, you see this line. That's where it broke into. There's a cloud kind of going down there. I was not aware that this had really broken apart until a couple of days later. No one's talking about this, by the way, but when I first looked at this, I thought it was a cloud, and then when I went back and looked, I realized this was the break into those two big pieces. Then on the 29th, it was too cloudy to see it. Here it is on the 30th. And it had broken into two big main pieces. Here's a sliver in the middle, and then these pieces up here had broken off as well. And see the beaming. They've been beaming this like crazy. I think they wanted it to break up so it wouldn't run into anything. And then here's the first, is under clouds. Here's the second, clouds. Third. So here, here's one of the big pieces underneath the cloud. Here's another piece. Here's another piece here. It's so hard to see through these clouds. Here's the third. Here's a piece up here. Can't really see it that well there. And they're moving too. Here's the fourth. Here, I think that's one of the pieces there. And here's one. Here's the fifth. So you can see it under the cloud, one of them. Here's the sixth. This was yesterday, and we can see it's further breaking up. There's division there, and see these slivers? It's breaking up long ways. Here's another piece up here, and you can see the pieces up here. That was yesterday, and here it is today under the cloud, but we can make out the solid white. There's a piece, here's a piece over here. So it's in the process of breaking up, and I don't think it's going to run into any of the islands before it breaks up. But the clouds are so weird down here, and they don't make any sense to me. So here's the island. It's under the cloud, but you see the ripples, see, coming up. So it's all right in here. So that's what's going on with A68, and it broke off a couple of years ago off of this Larsen C ice shelf. It was this whole big area. It was this whole big area right here. It was humongous, and I've been following it, and see the sea ice refroze. The water refroze and filled in. But this is the Larsen C ice shelf now, and this is the water from the ocean that refroze. This is the Larsen B. It collapsed a few years ago. This is what's left of that. This is a really good view today. See, that's breaking up. And up here used to be the Larsen A ice shelf, and that collapsed many years ago. So this has been ongoing. So let's move on down. Here's Pine Island Glacier. This is a good view today. Although there's a cloud over it, it's not as bad as it has been. But we can't see what's going on with the sea ice is still all the way down here. I'm surprised that this has not melted. I'll show you. Last year, you'll be shocked. Let's see. Look, see the beaming? Look at that, cross-hatched. See, it had melted all the way up, and it calved off. See the lines? This all broke off last year. But then, so see this line here, that was the original ice shelf for this glacier, and it's been calving off. There's active volcanoes underneath here. But look at that. That's not normal. So that's last year. So let's come back to this year. So see, this is where the sea ice refroze all the way up and hasn't melted. I think because it's been in clouds. Now here's the Thwaites Glacier. This is called the Doomsday Glacier. It's in a big cloud. Now here's the edge, and this used to be the ice tongue, and that broke off and it's breaking up. You can see through the clouds. See all these pieces of ice. It's in high melt. Very high melt. We can see it's breaking up there. I don't know how far up it's going to break off. This had been kind of a straight line, but it looks like it's more jagged now. It's coming apart more. It's been too cloudy to see it. Then here's the south side. Here's the Ross Sea. Here's a cloud. Here's the Ross Ice Shelf. See, that's open. That's all open. Down here is the Totten Glacier. Let's see. Here's the ice tongue. This is a cloud over it. But see this crack? I'm concerned about that. Now I want to show you something. Look over here next to it in this area. I want to go back. Oh, I'm not on today. I'm on the 4th. Yeah, look what it did this week. We'll go back. So here's the 1st. So watch this. Now watch all of this area where it's all cracked up. Here's the 5th. Look at it come apart. Here it is today. Isn't that something? It's just dramatic. It's just coming apart like crazy. And then this is cracking. And see, it's coming apart over here. See, it's all kind of solid there. More solid. Wait. Here we go. Here it comes, coming apart. And there's today. High melt. Unbelievable. It's just dramatic to see that. Here's the Amory ice sheet. Now, several glaciers feed into this, and you can see the flow, the direction coming down here. Now, the ice has melted away from the ice sheet. We've got a big cloud there. Hard to see. Look, we've got a crack there. Is that a crack or a cloud? Hard to tell. Oh, here we go. Here it is on the 3rd. It could be a crack. So it's kind of anchored in right up here on the coast. That's the only thing that's keeping this from going out and melting. So here it goes. Here it is today. But this is in high melt. You can see the colors changing here where it's melting, and the ice flows. You can see that. See? Around the rocks. Look at this. And then coming on up, here's the north end, or north side. You can see it's melted up to the ice edge. See, up to the coastline there. These are clouds here. Here is the Brunt ice sheet. Here's this chasm 1. You can see that. That's kind of getting more jagged. Here's the Halloween crack. Here's the new crack they found this year. This is a cloud. Here's a cut and paste. And then this is the Weddell Sea. Look how it's melted away. This is the ice shelf here. And that's about all we can see on that. Now, this show is getting kind of long. I do want to go over the this is from Robin's blog, Robin Westenra. He's covered the glacier that burst or melted, bursting water. Anyway, these dams are broken. Water is flooding down through India. It's from the Himalayas. And anyway, I just want to briefly go over this and show you where this is in India. It's quite interesting. Tragedy could be a result of very rare bursting of water pockets and glacier. So this view shows damage after a Himalayan glacier broke and crashed into a dam at Raini Choklata village in Chamo. Okay. Here's another article. Climate change behind Uttarakhand glacier burst, experts feel. And here's this map was very helpful to me to show where it went. It went a long way down. Glacier bursts in Raini village of Chamoli in Garhwal, Himalayas, damages hydropower plant at NTPC Tapovan, several bridges and nearby villages. That was just at that one place, and then it keeps going. Wipes out another power plant, and it ends up all the way down at Haridwar. This whole area is in this northern part of India, and the Himalayas are right there in the edge there. Climate change driven erratic weather patterns like increased snowfall and rainfall, warmer winters, has led to the melting point of a lot of snow. The thermal profile of ice is increasing. Where earlier the temperature of ice ranged from -6 to -20 degrees Celsius, it is now -2, making it more susceptible to melting. So this is like what we're seeing in the Arctic, but also in the Himalayas. And the Himalayan regions are also least monitored, and this event actually shows how vulnerable they could be. Burst glacier crashes into dam, triggering a huge flood in northern India. Dozens of people are missing and feared dead after Himalayan glacier crashed into a dam and triggered a huge flood in northern India. So there are several dead, and they're thinking about 150 people missing now. It just swept through so fast. And we're going to be seeing more and more of this. Here's a longer account of it. So you can go to Robin's blog and find this. I want to show where this is. I found it on Google Maps. This is Google Earth. First of all, the first part where it happened, it's right in here. Rainy Chocolata. And here's the river, Rishi Ganga. Here's a road that goes across the river, and there's the shadow there. And then it comes down, and then it joins up with this Dwali Ganga River. And so that's where it started. If you look on Google Maps, now that was Google Earth. If you look on Google Maps, okay, so here's India, and this area up here is Uttarakhand. Up here. The Himalayas are here. It started way up here. Let's see. And you see the red circle and the little ripples. This is where the flooding is. Some of it. Where it came down. It started right in here. Rainy Chocolata. See, right here. Here's the road, and then and then here's the river, and it came down this way. Where's the... Okay, keep going. This is... See, if you click on that, it tells all the different articles connected to it, but it shows Uttarakhand floods updated February 8th at 3:09 a.m. GMT plus 5:30. Scores missing and 7 dead now as burst glacier triggers flash floods. Glacier burst leads to massive flash flood. And you can click through, and if you click on any of these articles, it takes you to them. So there's that resource. And then it came down, 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 and ended up... Where was my... I'm getting lost. Haridwar. It ended up even flooding all the way down here at Haridwar. So it's amazing. And it wiped out power plants along the way and dams, and I mean it was huge. And there's going to be more and more and more of this happening because of the warmer temperature that just doesn't get as cold, and those glaciers are going to be melting. That's all there is to it. And I'm sorry to say, but this is the world we live in now. It's just the world we live in. So we need to be ready to leave the planet any time. Just any time. So this goes right along with what I was saying. You know, it's time to get our spiritual houses in order. Now here's India, and it's up in this area. I'm lost now. Anyway, you get the idea. Need to get our spiritual houses in order. That is the most important thing. And if you haven't done it, you really need to do it. Now, I've started reading in the book of Luke. I finished the book of Psalms this week, 150 chapters. And then I decided to go to the book of Luke, and then I'm going to go to Acts and read through the New Testament. And Luke wrote Luke and Acts, and Luke was a physician, and he was not one of the 12. I was surprised to find that out, but he was a helper of Paul, and so he was in there with the apostles and knew what was going on, and he wrote very detailed and tells things that in his accounting of Jesus's life that the other gospels don't tell. So tonight, Luke chapter 24, and these are longer than the Psalms, and it covers a whole lot of time period. And the red that you see on the screen are the words of Jesus. So we pick up in chapter 4 where Jesus had just been baptized by John the Baptist. Luke chapter 4. And Jesus, being full of the Holy Ghost, returned from Jordan, and was led by the Spirit into the wilderness, being 40 days tempted of the devil. And in those days he did eat nothing, and when they were ended, he afterward hungered. And the devil said unto him, If thou be the Son of God, command this stone that it be made bread. And Jesus answered him, saying, It is written, that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of God. And the devil, taking him up into an high mountain, shewed unto him all the kingdoms of the world in the moment of time. And the devil said unto him, All this power will I give thee, and the glory of them, for that is delivered unto me, and to whomsoever I will I give it. If thou therefore wilt worship me, all shall be thine. And Jesus answered and said unto him, Get thee behind me, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. And he brought him to Jerusalem, and set him on a pinnacle of the temple, and said unto him, If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down from hence, for it is written, He shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest in any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. And Jesus answering said unto him, It is said, Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. And when the devil had ended all the temptation, he departed from him for a season. And Jesus returned in the power of the Spirit into Galilee, and there went out a fame of him through all the region round about, and he taught in their synagogues, being glorified of all. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day, and stood up for to read. And there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Esaias. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written, The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. And he closed the book, and gave it again to the minister, and sat down. And the eyes of all them that were in the synagogue were fastened on him. And he began to say unto them, This day is the scripture fulfilled in your ears. And all bare him witness, and wondered at the gracious words which proceeded out of his mouth. And they said, Is not this Joseph's son? And he said unto them, Ye will surely say unto me this proverb, Physician, heal thyself. Whatsoever we have done, we have heard in Capernaum, do also here in thy country. And he said, Verily I say unto you, no prophet is accepted in his own country. But I tell you of a truth, many widows were in Israel in the days of Elias, when the heaven was shut up 3 years and 6 months, when great famine was throughout all the land. But unto none of them was Elias sent, save unto Sarepta, a city of Sidon, unto a woman that was a widow. And many lepers were in Israel in the time of Eliseus the prophet, and none of them were cleansed, saving Naaman the Syrian. And all they in the synagogue, when they heard these things, were filled with wrath, and rose up, and thrust him out of the city, and led him into the brow of the hill, whereon the city was built, that they might cast him down headlong. But he, passing through the midst of them, went his way, and came down to Capernaum, a city of Galilee, and taught them on the Sabbath days. And they were astonished at his doctrine, for his word was with power. And in the synagogue there was a man which had a spirit of an unclean devil, and cried out with a loud voice, saying, Let us alone. What have we to do with thee, thou Jesus of Nazareth? Art thou come to destroy us? I know thee who thou art, the Holy One of God. And Jesus rebuked him, saying, Hold thy peace, and come out of him. And when the devil had thrown him in the midst, he came out of him, and hurt him not. And they were all amazed, and spake among themselves, saying, What a word is this! For with authority and power he commandeth the unclean spirits, and they come out. And the fame of him went out into every place of the country round about. And he arose out of the synagogue, and entered into Simon's house. And Simon's wife's mother was taken with a great fever, and they besought him for her. And he stood over her, and rebuked the fever, and it left her. And immediately she arose and ministered unto them. Now when the sun was setting, all they that had any sick with divers diseases brought them unto him. And he laid his hands on every one of them, and healed them. And devils also came out of many, crying out and saying, Thou art Christ, the Son of God. And he, rebuking them, suffered them not to speak, for they knew that he was Christ. And when it was day, he departed and went into a desert place. And the people sought him, and came unto him, and stayed him, that he should not depart from them. And he said unto them, I must preach the kingdom of God to other cities also, for therefore am I sent. And he preached in the synagogues of Galilee. Luke chapter 4. So, the whole Bible leads up to, in the Old Testament, it leads up to Jesus' coming. And then once he's crucified, it's all about how we can live like him and be like him. And then his return in the end days. And I do believe we're in the end days, in the end times, and that he is coming back. And that we need to be living as Jesus, and ask for his help, ask for him to come into our hearts. He can bring the peace beyond all understanding. He can protect us and guide us, and he can lead us home. And he can protect us from the evil and from the demons and from Satan. But without him, it's hard to discern. Him and the Holy Spirit, we can't discern. But with him, we can discern. So, it's real important that you have a personal relationship with Jesus. And I'm not talking about temples and churches and things like that. I'm talking about a one-on-one relationship where you have communication with him, and you read the Bible, and it's a walk. It's a complete walk and a growth. So I'm just sharing. And if you choose to open the door and just a little crack and ask him to come in, he will. And if you choose not to, that's your choice. So I love you all, and I'm praying for everyone. I hope you have a good week. And God willing, I will see you next week. God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.